Welcome to another S&P 500 weekly analysis. In this video, we'll discuss the possible price action scenario for the E-mini S&P 500 future, the ES, the ETF for the S&P 500, the SPY, the E-mini NASDAQ 100 future, the NQ, and the NASDAQ 100 ETF QQQ. And for more context on the market, I will refer you to my newsletter, The Pulse of the Market, at substack.com. You'll find the link to my latest post on the market in the description below. All right, let's start off with the ES, the E-mini S&P 500. And looking at the weekly chart here, you see all these zones that we are still monitoring. And the most immediate zone is this area here, somewhere below the 5,800, and also this 5,600 area. Notice that last week on this weekly chart, on the last minute or the last 10, 15 minutes or so, we have a surge on the ES into the close, and that kind of helps salvage this week here. Otherwise, we would have seen a 5 consecutive down week. So right now we're seeing a little bit of an inside bar here from last week's candle, and we're basically looking for a possible bounce here because it got a nice bounce off of the 5,600 area the previous week, and also seems to be holding this zone here from last week. So right now, let's go and take a look at what the market is pricing in for the coming week. And the market is actually pricing a quite narrow upper range, and it is between 58.32.5 and 58.25.75 for the upper range. And the lower range is 56.14.25 and 55.75. So basically, we are looking for a possibility of moving away from this little balance area here that we are talking about. So we want to get away from this and see would it be able to break above this 5,800 and come up to this upper range and possibly get into this particular level here, this resistance and support. So right now it is acting as a potential resistance here up at 5850 area here. So basically looking at the upper range for a possible bounce. Now, if the price would not be able to get up there or make a quick move up there and get rejected, then we'd be looking for the possibility of moving back down to the 5,600 area. Because right now, I don't believe that this pullback is completed yet. So we're most likely going to see some sort of a lower high and then a lower low. Maybe, it will come down to this area here, somewhere around the 5,200 level. And if we take a look at the daily price, on a daily chart here, and we see that right here in this zone here, right, this 5,800, and right now it seems to be having a little bit of a balance here, right, the last week. So we're going to see would it be able to break this balance and then come up, or would it just kind of retrace back down to the bottom of this balance and move down to the lower range. So that's basically what we're going to be keeping an eye out for the coming week on the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And for the SPY, the ETF for the S&P 500, on this weekly chart, we see that there is a little bit of a movement and came back above the previous week high. So unlike the ES, the E-mini S&P 500 future, which have printed an inside week, on the SPY actually made a little bit higher high. So we'll be watching to see will we see a continuation to move up to this zone up here near the 5,800 and possibly get up to this area here, which is near the 5,900 to 5,087. 587, 590 area, and here's the 580. So we're going to be keeping an eye out to see would it be able to come up to this 580 and see if it get rejected. If it get rejected, then we'll be looking for a lower high and a lower low move down to somewhere around this 540 in the near term, not necessarily next week, but hey, anything is possible, right? So right now, what the market is pricing in for the coming week, the upper range again is pretty narrow, and it is pricing between 574.70 and 576.30. And the lower range is somewhere around 553.30, 550.50. So again, we are looking for the possibility of moving up to this 580. So basically taking out the upper range and see would it be able to move above it and come up to this 585, 586 area, or would it get rejected and push back down into this low range somewhere around this 553, 550, and work itself down to this 540 level. And if we look at this daily chart here, you can see that we are seeing a little bit of a balance here, right, in this balance area. So basically looking for the SPY to see would it break this balance and move up into this 580 area and see would it get rejected back down and come back down to this balance and work itself down toward the lower range. Now, if it's unable to break this balance here, right, unable to break this balance, let me draw this back in. So if it is unable to break this balance, then we'd be looking for it to retrace back to the bottom of this balance area and possibly do a break and come down to this lower range. And that's basically what we're going to be watching out for in the coming week to see will the price be able to come up to this balance area or will it come back down to this balance area. So these are the two balance areas that we'll be watching for the SPY to see which direction it will take. On the upside, then it be coming up to the upper range, and on the downside, come down to retrace its balance and work itself down back to the lower range. And for the NQ, the E-mini NASDAQ 100 future, we see that it too printed a inside bar on a weekly chart here. So right now it's kind of hovering somewhere near this 20,000 zone here, this 20,100, this price zone, and 20,500. So what we will be watching for in the coming week is to see would it be able to break through this zone and try to move up to this 21,000 area. And if it is unable to do that, then we'll be looking for it to come back and retrace down to this 19,200 area and see would it be able to hold this for support. And if it's unable to hold that for support, then we'll be looking for a move toward this 18,000 area, this 18,200, 18,100 area, this particular price zone here, to see would it be able to find support. So for the coming week, we are looking at this price range where the market is pricing in. And here the market is pricing in, the upper range is somewhere around 21,942 and a quarter and 22,250. And then the lower range is somewhere between 19,498 and 19,350. So you can see that it is pricing in near these zone here, right? This 20,500 and also down here near the 19,200. So again, we're basically looking to see would it be able to break through this zone and then move up to the 21,000, or would it get rejected and pushed back down into this 19,500 area, 19,200 area here to see would it be able to find support. And if it doesn't, then we could see the NQ trying to make its way down toward this 18,000 level. So you can see on this daily chart here, we're seeing this this zone here between 20,400 and 20,200. So we got a little bit of a balance here. So again, you'll see would it be able to break this balance and move up to the upper range in the coming week, or would it retrace back down to the bottom of this balance and work itself back down into this zone here, somewhere between the 19,400 and 19,200. And for the QQQ, the ETF for the NASDAQ 100, we see that similarly to the SPY, the SP500 ETF, it put in a little bit of a higher high here compared to the prior week's high, unlike the future where it is printing a inside candle on a weekly chart. But the QQQ is actually made a little bit of a higher high during the week, but it did close up and just barely above last week's, the previous week close. So again, we're basically looking at the zone here, right, to see would it be able to get above this zone. And if it doesn't, then we want to see would it be able to hold this zone. And right now, the market is pricing in these following ranges. And the upper range is 492.30 and 494. So it's quite narrow. And also the low range is 469.30 and 466. So let's go and take a look at the daily chart here. And here we see that right now it is inside of this balance area. Got a multi-day balance here. See, would it be able to break and come up to this top of this zone here at 490 and possibly test the upper range. Now, if it's unable to break this balance and come back down, then we'd be looking for this 469.30 and 466, the low range, which is also in confluence with this zone here between 470 and 465. So those are the price action that we'll be keeping an eye on for the coming week for the QQQ. If you find the content to be useful and informative, then give it a thumbs up to help promote this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also subscribe to my newsletter at Substack to show your support for my work. Thank you for watching and good luck on your trading.